You're watching Investigation Discovery on Demand. A beloved young woman is on a journey home.
They said, I'll meet you on the other end, and, well, I'll see you then.
But something stops her.
I don't remember worrying about it. In retrospect, maybe I should have.
And Lauryn Garrett vanishes in plain sight.
And the detectives were able to go back to the store and get a video.
Evidence left behind causes her family and investigators to fear the worst.
The family of a swim woman missing for more than a week is worried she may be the victim of foul play.
And a community bands together in the search.
We're going to send some crews out where the brush gets a little thicker.
It's a total shift of, hoping to find her and see her versus God don't let me find anything.
A private investigator comes to Washington State.
It went from A to B, and then poof, something changed.
Then clues emerge that could be linked to Lauryn's past.
What we just learned is that we have a credible witness.
And a suffering family springs into action.
I'm sick of saying I don't know.
Does she look like this girl right over here?
In a desperate attempt to find Lauryn.
What did you see? What did you hear? We're just trying to find her.
I'm just disappointed she's not with me.
It was a mild evening in Sequim, Washington in May 2014 when 23-year-old Lauryn Garrett vanished. Lauryn was on her way home from a 2-month stint at a drug rehab facility north of Seattle the night she went missing.
I had marked on the calendar that 60 days was Friday, May 2nd.
The week before Lauryn's release, she and her father, Fred, agreed on a plan for how she would get back to Sequim.
She was going to ride the bus down to the ferry. I said, fine, great. I can't wait to see you. I love you very much, and I'll see you Friday morning in Port Townsend.
But that meeting would never take place. The day before they were meant to meet up, Lauryn called him with a change of plans.
She ended up calling me at 7:30 in the evening in Port Townsend.
Fred was happy to hear from his daughter, but surprised to know that she was already in Port Townsend the night before her scheduled arrival.
And I said, okay, great, awesome.
Lauryn called him from the park and ride in town, asking him to come there to pick her up. But at that moment, Fred was unable to make the 24-mile trip.
And I said, I can't come get you right now, but you jump on the bus, and then I'll meet you on the other end, and, well, I'll see you then. Perfect.
It would have been an easy ride home, but there was one glitch in their plan.
After she got off the phone, I went and looked at the bus schedule. And I realized that there were no more buses that came from Port Townsend. I didn't think it was that late, that there wouldn't be any more buses running.
Fred immediately tried to get in touch with his youngest daughter, who had called him with a borrowed cell phone.
I called the phone that she called me on, and the gentleman answered the phone, and he said, well, she's not here. Last I saw her, she was walking to a supermarket, which was right across the park and ride area where she called me from.
According to Fred, the man said that Lauryn left her bags unattended at the transit stop and headed towards the adjacent Safeway grocery store.
That was it. And I thought, oh, dang it, what am I going to do now?
Although Fred was worried his daughter could be in a vulnerable state, he also knew Lauryn had plenty of family and friends she could call for a ride. Later that night, he reached out to Lauryn's mother, but she had not heard from Lauryn either.
I remember thinking, she's a big girl. It's not like she's not been on her own. just figured, if she didn't call a friend, then, she'd be here in the morning. And I don't remember worrying about it at all. In retrospect, maybe I should have.
Lauryn, the youngest of 3 children, was just a toddler when her parents, Fred and Elena, divorced. Soon after, her mother, Elena, married Brett, a single dad with 2 young boys.
Oh, wow, I remember this.
I know.
Holy cow. I remember when she cut her hair.
The kids all grew up together in a custom-built home on property that had been in Elena's extended family for generations.
She's got a big family on her mother's side, who's like the 5th generation in the Squim area.
As Lauryn grew up, she stood out in her community.
But she was mysterious and, mischievous. And she liked to be different. She didn't like to follow the crowd. And, she definitely had her own sense of style about her.
And so it was no surprise that her high school years would leave an indelible mark on so many.
I mean, some kids are kind of rah-rah kind of kids, but she was more of a leader by example. She just went out every day. She worked really hard.
She was a record-breaking athlete whose talents spanned the spectrum.
She was what we would look to as the spark or a firecracker. She was always getting kids pumped up for a big game.
And it wasn't just about her abilities on the field.
She was idolized by a lot of the younger athletes, and she was always willing to help and stay after. It didn't matter if you were the best or the worst, she treated everybody the same.
But Lauryn's bright spirit slowly dimmed as a drug addiction took hold these last few years.
It was really hard to watch because she's extremely smart and very outgoing and creative.
Hey. 5 ball. Saturday comes, and we haven't heard from her. And I'm starting to think, okay, wait a minute. I really think she would have called somebody. This doesn't set well. So I went ahead and called the police and told them what was going on.
Fred Garrett had called indicating that his daughter, she had not shown up to Squim, and he wanted to report her as missing.
Fred told the police that Lauryn had a history of drug use. He also told the police that he found out from the rehab facility that she was traveling with a check for $55 and only enough cash to get her home. So far, the check had not been cashed.
Fred had called me and said, I put out that she's missing and they're going to put it on a database. And I thought, a database?
Elena immediately checked Lauryn's Facebook page.
Then not only had she not contacted me or him again, there was nothing.
Lauryn was a habitual Facebook user. To see no postings from her daughter was alarming.
It was horrible to have that thought keep coming back and forth to me that, that something was wrong.
That's when everybody was alerted that we didn't know where Lauryn was. That she was gone.
Once her father reported her missing, Lauryn's oldest sibling, Whitney, and Whitney's husband sprang into action.
My dad called me, and then me and Cody made flyers and passed them out in Port Townsend. We just wanted to do something to help.
I went down by myself, actually walked around the area where I knew she was last at.
While Lauryn's family and the police desperately sought out information, a new lead came in.
Everybody was stressing out, and I get this phone call like at 11:30 in the morning, and my mom says, she tried to cash a check. Somebody saw her this morning.
After spending 2 months in a drug rehabilitation facility, 23-year-old Lauryn Garrett was released and on her way home to Squim, Washington, where her family was anxiously waiting. But Lauryn mysteriously vanished, and it wasn't until 4 days later that her family received word of a possible clue. An employee from the same Safeway that was reportedly Lauryn's last known location believed Lauryn was in the store earlier that morning.
Of course, total relief of like, okay, that's good. I'm so happy.
The store clerk said the woman attempted to cash a check without valid ID.
The father believed that it was a check she had received from where she was coming from.
Police obtained security footage from the store, which clearly showed the young woman in question. The family viewed the images.
What we were being told was that the manager thought that the girl that came in was trying to cash Lauren's check. But it wasn't Lauryn.
Disappointment immediately turned into fear.
That was a total red flag. That was like, why would somebody be cashing her check? Where'd they find her check? Why does she not have her check?
Eventually, police learned that the woman in Safeway had nothing to do with Lauren's disappearance and was, in fact, trying to cash her own check. It was now a week since anyone had heard from or seen Lauryn. For the third day in a row, her mother, Elena, went to Port Townsend to continue searching for her daughter.
I just want to start where they last saw her.
That day, Elena's instinct told her to search the park adjacent to the bus stop.
We decided we were going to go to Kaitai Lagoon Park. Well, I don't think we got 5 minutes in and I saw a red duffel bag.
Instantly, Elena knew it was Lauren's.
Of course, I started to dig through it as I'm freaking out, feeling like I'm going to be sick. Then I thought, well, if this is evidence, I need to not. And I called 911.
The Port Townsend police were dispatched to the location. They collected Lauren's bag and processed the area as if it were a crime scene.
It hit home for me when I got the call from Lauren's mom. I put the phone down and I flew out of the house and got in my car and drove as fast as I could to Port Townsend.
While finding one of Lauren's bags was jarring, it was what was inside that really hit home.
Letters and pictures, things that our family and friends had sent to her. That struck me as odd.
Lauren's parents can't understand why she would have intentionally left those things behind, unless her departure wasn't voluntary.
It was just one more mystery. It just made it more confusing. And so we continued to search that area, but in my mind, I'm looking, instead of looking for her, it was just a total shift of, hoping to find her and see her versus, God, don't let me find anything.
It was at this point that Seattle local news crews picked up Lauren's story.
The family of a swim woman missing for more than a week is worried she may be the victim of foul play.
The lack of anything since the first is scary.
If you think you have any idea where she might be, please call 911.
It was probably one of the moments I went from, okay, she's playing around to, what the hell?
And then, deep inside Lauren's bag, another piece of the puzzle turned up.
They found a receipt from Safeway. It had a date and time stamp on it, and the detectives were able to go back to the store and get a video that showed her inside the store.
Security footage at the Safeway shows that at 8:04 p.m. on May 1st, approximately 30 minutes after Lauryn spoke with her father, she purchased a pint of vodka and a soda. Now, 7 days after she went missing, her family fears Lauryn relapsed and went back to her belongings after the Safeway. They shudder to think of what happened next.
With the amount of publicity that this has received, we haven't had any tips indicating that, oh, here she is, she's staying with me.
Ever since Lauren's story hit the media, those that knew her in Squim have been devastated.
You always have those few students who just are going to stand out in your mind forever and ever. She's one of those kids.
After high school, Lauryn could have gone straight to college.
She had a couple of opportunities to do track at a college and then do basketball at a college.
But at age 19, she had a different vision.
She just really felt a need to help people.
She accepted a position in Phoenix, Arizona, where she would be teaching art to disabled children. Before Lauryn left home to teach, her mother, Elena, sent her a powerful message in a poem.
Beautiful girl with my slight resemble of once upon a time long ago. was just about her, becoming the woman that she was going to become and trying to figure out who she was.
After Lauryn's bag was found, an interagency task force was created to pool resources in the search for Lauryn. Detectives and scores of search and rescue volunteers converge at Katai Park to conduct a grid search of the area.
They're going to coordinate a search through the park, which is land and water, an extensive search to see if we might be able to locate anything additional other than what we've already got.
Although it's a heavily traversed municipal park, there are many secluded areas where evidence, or even a body, could be hiding.
And then we're going to send some crews out where the brush gets a little thicker. Just poke around in there a little.
And then, just moments after the search begins, volunteers stumble upon what seems to be a crucial clue.
About 5 minutes into the search, a blue duffel bag was found. I thought, oh no, they're on the track.
Could this be Lauryn's second bag? The information is reported back to the command center, but it doesn't take them long to conclude that it's not Lauryn's.
The duffel bag was unrelated.
Duffel bag is unrelated.
As dusk fast approaches, it's clear they've got nothing new.
The search came up with nothing, and so that was a relief in a way. I mean, would I have liked for them to found something that gave us a hint as to where things could be now? Yeah, but was I glad they didn't find a body? Sure, definitely.
Since over 2 weeks have passed and Lauryn's family is no closer to finding her, they have agreed to let private investigator Gary Miko, a former New Jersey detective specializing in missing persons, come to Washington to take a closer look at Lauryn's case.
I look forward to meeting with him and hopefully being able to, seek different avenues that the police and the general public and people out there looking, wouldn't do.
Gary has traveled across the country to see if he can make sense out of this mystery.
Bottom line is, you have to follow the evidence. You have to follow, what you know, what you can prove.
First, Gary heads to the area where Lauryn's bag was found to survey the scene.
She had 2 duffel bags. One was missing and one was left behind. How did that happen? You got beer cans here, cigarette butts all over the place. It's got the feel of sort of like a little campsite. So I don't think it's out of the question at all that she found this place and just bedded down for the night. We'll see. Anything's possible.
But this is where the clues stop.
The intent of Lauryn Garrett to come home upon departing rehab, whatever the plan was, it abruptly changed. And that's what's odd. You figured it'd be from A to B to C. It went from A to B, and then poof, something changed.
Weeks have passed since Lauryn Garrett vanished. With no word from Lauryn and the investigation at a standstill, Lauryn's family has agreed to let private investigator Gary Miko examine their daughter's case.
She hasn't contacted anybody, and that's just not like her.
I am sick of saying I don't know. Sick of it. And I just want her back.
After retracing Lauryn's steps, Gary is now ready to meet her parents.
I got the opportunity to spend time with her dad, Fred, who sort of filled me in on her background. Has she ever gone to rehab for this length of time and come out and fallen off the wagon?
No, this is the first time she's been in a real rehab.
Fred shares details of Lauryn's past with Gary, including the moment when Lauryn's dreams were shattered. At age 19, soon after Lauryn left home to pursue the volunteer teaching position in Arizona, her parents learned that the job fell through.
And I think that was disappointing to her because, she always had wanted to, grow up and go somewhere and do something. And so, waylaying that dream kind of was frustrating to her.
Lauryn returned to Sequim a few months later. Her parents say that she was hanging out with a group of young people known to use narcotics.
She was really naive about what she was getting herself into. They think, well, that's not going to be me. I can handle this. I'm going to go out and have fun for a little while. And then I'm going to go off and I'm going to do another chapter in my life.
A year later, in 2012, Lauryn and her childhood friend Maggie planned a new adventure.
Lauryn and I have known each other since the 6th grade. I've never laughed so hard with anybody in my whole life. We laugh till we cry. This place is special to me and Lauryn because we grew up here.
The two girls had always dreamed of living together in Seattle and decided to make a go of it.
We're both so extremely spontaneous that it's hard to be responsible almost when you just want to do whatever the hell you want to do and you're going to and you're stubborn like us. With a passion for freedom,
But freedom came with a price.
It was like one thing fell through after another.
Over time, both Maggie and Lauryn became homeless and addicted to drugs. They got by couch surfing and panhandling in a North Seattle neighborhood called Shoreline.
We would talk about her situation, but usually it was just me trying to be positive and, let her know that I don't have any judgment.
And then, in the summer of 2013, Lauryn hit rock bottom and reached out to her mother for help.
I went and picked her up, and it was eye-opening because she'd been living in a stairwell with a blanket. And so, that was tough.
Unable to cope with her daughter's drug habits, Elena made arrangements for Lauryn to live with her father, Fred, in December of 2013.
Lauryn came back to me because she had run out of opportunities. She had no place else to go. And I told her straight up, I said, listen, Lauryn, you've got two choices, girl. I love you to death. You can go back to doing what you were doing, and it's not going to be a good ending. Or you can stay here, and I'll get you to a rehab facility. And as much as she fought it, she stuck it out.
Lauryn spent 2 months drug-free, waiting for a bed to open up at a rehab facility. She was admitted on March 1st for 60 days. And now, after 4 months clean, Lauryn is missing, and her loved ones believe she is in danger.
I think if she knew about all the media and about if she had checked her Facebook, I think she would have contacted us a long time ago.
As this thing gets farther and farther along, it just seems more like foul play.
Private investigator Gary Miko is determined to find out what happened to Lauryn after she spoke to her father 16 days earlier.
She was dropped out.
And then, Fred offers up some information that changes the game in the search for Lauryn.
What we just learned is that we have a credible witness that spotted her in the town of...
Although there have been many tips that turned out to be cases of mistaken identity, Fred questions this one. Gary thinks this tip could be the real deal.
There was a possible sighting of Lauryn in the town of Shoreline, on the other side of the Puget Sound.
This witness claims that Lauryn has returned to Shoreline, the place where everything had gone south for her. The next day, Gary arranges a meeting with Lauryn's mother, Elena, and her husband, Brett. He wants to dig deeper into the possible sighting.
Hi, I'm Gary.
I'm Brett, Gary.
Brett, nice to meet you.
Hi, Gary. Elena.
Elena?
Yeah.
Gary, nice to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
Can we sit and talk?
Sure.
Good.
Lauren's mother and stepfather were, I think, emotionally drained. And I think the waiting around was getting to them. Tell me about Lauryn.
It seems so out of character. I'm just having a hard time deciphering what I know versus what I'm trying to put as reality. Does that make sense?
You are making sense.
For Elena and Brett, the tip about the sighting in Shoreline seemed promising, so Brett wanted to talk to the witness himself.
I had contacted Fred and asked him for his phone number. And immediately I called.
The witness told Brett on the phone and through text that he and Lauryn spoke about rehab.
And he had told me that he was a little hesitant in speaking with her father. And I told him that I was in recovery as well. And he opened up.
Brett is a recovering addict, and he's familiar with the drug scene in Shoreline. He feels that his experience might help them all get closer to Lauryn if she has relapsed. But after 2 days, all communications with the tipster came to a halt.
I have not heard back from him. I haven't had the opportunity to go over there.
I think they wanted to do something. That's their kid. Who's going to stop them from looking on their own? We can't be cops. But as family members, there's a lot you can do. Waiting is not an option, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
They realize that they can take the bull by the horns, jump off the couch, and do it themselves. I have a great idea. Why don't we go find her and ask these questions ourselves?
Lovely. I would be more happy to.
So that sounds like a plan.
Elena and Brett agree it's time to go look for their daughter, and, with any luck, bring her home. To learn more about Lauryn Garrett's case, go to investigationdiscovery.com/disappeared. It's mid-May in Sequim, Washington. Private investigator Gary Miko, Lauryn's mother Elena, and her stepfather Brett are gearing up to search for Lauryn themselves.
How are you?
I'm good.
Want to go on a field trip today?
I'm ready for a field trip. Definitely.
For the first time in 2.5 weeks, there is hope that 23-year-old Lauryn Garrett may be alive in a North Seattle neighborhood just over an hour's drive and a ferry ride away.
So what we're doing today is we're just following the breadcrumbs. We're just following a lead, and we're just going to see where it takes us. The ride over, I'd asked them both how they felt about doing what they were doing today.
I find myself talking in my head a lot. Little prayers. Come on, Lauryn, where are you? That kind of stuff.
I find myself fighting the urge to vomit.
She was that nervous about going over there and looking. They knew how she lived last time and wanted to do something and act to get her out of harm's way, if that's indeed where she went.
The three embark on the same ferry Lauryn would have taken if, in fact, she is at Shoreline.
We're going to be sort of covert, split up, and just take our time. If you spot her, we're not going to chase her. We don't want to ask too many questions and spook her either out of the area. Let's not turn this into an episode of Cops where we're chasing down the street and running into traffic. They want her to be gentle, sensitive to Lauryn and hopefully help her if they did happen to run into her. Let's nose around a little bit, shake the tree and see what falls out. Well, the first order of business, once we get off the ferry, was really to go to this Aurora Village.
They begin at the transit stop on the other side of the parking lot.
There should be posters on all these bus stops here.
This is the exact spot where, according to the witness, Lauryn got off a bus just 1 week earlier.
Looks like a bus driver.
If Lauryn is staying in Shoreline, chances are she'll come back here, since this is the main transportation hub.
That's the bus driver guy right there.
I am going to ask him.
Maybe he knows.
Brett and Elena are determined to make sure every rider gets a glimpse of Lauryn.
How you doing? My daughter, about a week ago, a sighting said she got off at Aurora Village here.
Oh, wow.
And she she's been gone for a couple weeks and we have not seen her at all. We're just trying to find her.
I understand.
She vanished.
Her stepfather, Brett, sort of a keep-to-yourself sort of guy. He was Mr. Extrovert. Hey, dude. He began on his own, approaching bus drivers and strangers, anyone and everyone. They hand out flyers and taking notes of possibilities of other places where she might be. She's been frequenting your bus line, and she's...
Yeah, she's up on the bulletin board there.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
This is teamwork. This is a good thing.
Elena makes her way across the street to a municipal park where transients are known to gather.
Does that look familiar to you? She's 23. Her name's Lauryn. Alright. What's that?
Hope she's not dead.
You and me both.
Elena is more determined than ever to find her daughter.
You got lost a dog?
I wish it was a dog. It's my daughter. Okay, she still live in this area. That's why we're back over here. So I'm not, I don't know. I just know that
Yeah, she'll show up.
I'm hoping. Thank you.
Brett meets up with Elena at the park, and the two decide it's time to move on to another location.
I asked, where would you want to go from here? What is nearby that you're familiar with?
Golden West Hotel.
Let's go there next. How far?
It's a half a mile up to Golden West.
Her stepfather, Brett, knew the area quite well, and he had mentioned a motel that she had stayed at previously. He wanted to stop by that motel in the off chance that she was staying there, had been staying there, which was smart. All right, let's go.
Brett and Gary visit the manager's office.
Hello.
While Elena questions the motel's guests.
We went in, spoke to the manager and the manager's wife, and they didn't recognize her in the poster.
And just when they are about to leave empty-handed, a man comes forward with some information.
As we were standing in there, we noticed that there was a guy kind of standing outside the office door, and when presented with a flyer, knew exactly who she was.
Asking to remain anonymous, the witness does agree to have his voice on camera and is willing to answer Gary's questions.
What did you see? What did you smell? What did you hear? Even if it was brief, explain.
I saw this girl while I was working here at the motel. The door opened, her room opened, and her and another gentleman came out of the room. Distinct drug smell, like acid smell, came out of their room.
So she stayed here on the 14th. On the 14th of May, Wednesday. Yeah. And it was one night from what we have here on the receipt.
Yes.
You're positive that's her?
I am positive, 100% positive that this girl was the girl that walked out of that room.
If this information is accurate, Lauren's parents have missed her by only 4 days. Lauren's mother and stepfather want to keep the momentum going. There is a string of motels like this one in the area.
Does she look like this girl right over here?
They ask around,
No.
but it seems their luck has run out.
No, as in he hasn't seen her?
No. But before going home, they head to a nearby park where homeless youth are known to sleep. And just after they pull into the parking lot, Gary receives a call from Lauren's dad in Squim.
He had just received a tip moments earlier.
Could this be the clue that leads them to Lauryn? After 2.5 weeks of not knowing whether Lauryn Garrett, a young woman from Squim, Washington, was alive or dead, her mother Elena and stepfather Brett accompany private investigator Gary Miko to Seattle to follow up on a lead.
As
the bus driver guy right there.
She's been gone for a couple weeks.
Hello. Within hours, they stumble upon a witness who says that he saw Lauryn at a motel just 4 days earlier.
Her and another gentleman came out of the room. Distinct drug smell.
As they continue to scour the area, hoping to get another lead, Fred, Lauryn's father, calls them with a tip he has just received.
I got this call from the girl, and she stated that she saw Lauryn yesterday.
Fred says that a woman called him after seeing one of the posters that Brett and Elena had hung up earlier that day.
She told me that she knows it was Lauryn, and she knows that Lauryn is alive.
Okay, if you hear from her again, please let us know, and we'll take this information and pass it on to law enforcement.
While Fred and Gary nose around the area before it gets dark,
If you saw anything down there, never seen anyone.
Elena stays back, reflecting on the day's events.
There's a sense of relief that I'm not fearing the worst anymore. She's alive. You know, alive is good.
And now it's time to drive back to the ferry.
So all of your efforts have been paying off today. In a matter of about 24 hours, we've confirmed 3 sightings. 2 of them coming in the last 3 hours.
The inescapable thoughts that Lauryn could have fallen victim to foul play are slowly fading away.
Minus the fact that I'm super glad that things are good. I'm just disappointed she's not with me.
On the road back to Squim, there's an uneasy silence.
There's nothing in my heart that makes me feel like I could be mad or irritated or upset. To know, I mean, if honestly, if it was something about her just taking off that space she must be in order to do that, that breaks my heart.
The next day, Lauryn's father and mother report the 2 sightings to the Port Townsend police. Based on the new information, the authorities decide to scale back on their investigation into Lauryn's disappearance.
It's just that she's a young woman, 23 years of age, who's decided that she doesn't want to or won't be in contact with her family for whatever reason she chooses.
It's now time for Gary to return home to New Jersey.
Exchanged contact information, and looking forward to some good news very quickly. I think she's there, and I hope there's a nice proactive approach from the family and everyone else involved to find her.
For Lauryn's dad and her mother and stepfather, the days following the trip to Shoreline with Gary were filled with highs and lows. Together, they took multiple trips back to Shoreline to scour the area, and every lead turned into a dead end.
The problem is everybody says she looks familiar. And so it was like, familiar's not okay. You know, it needs to be, yeah, it's her.
They even got creative in their search efforts by targeting the homeless, with the grim reality in mind that Lauryn could be living on the streets.
A lot of the people in that arena, people don't care about them. You know, they're homeless or they're drug addicted or they're alcoholics. And so I thought, you know what we need to do is we're going to make some bag lunches and I will post her flyer, like a milk carton, on them and we'll hand them out.
And that was a family mission, and so it was really good,
And we had
for us to go do that.
In the dark days Lauryn's family has lived through this past month and a half, some light has emerged.
Brett and I and Elena really made a good team. You know, the whole part of how sad it was, we gave each other support.
The once strained relationship over the last 20 years between Lauryn's mother and father has changed dramatically as they worked together to find their missing daughter. And family support was essential for what came next on June 3rd, 34 days after Lauryn disappeared.
I'm just sitting at home, and I get a phone call from my little brother. Said, "Hey, so-and-so saw Lauryn."
Fred's brother said a woman he knew believed she interacted with Lauryn at a department store where she worked in Shoreline.
And then I get a call from the Port Townsend detective. He says, "We got a still shot. I'm going to email it to you and let me know what you think."
A few hours later, the photo taken from the security camera arrived in Fred's inbox.
As soon as I opened up the email, I was like, wow. Yeah, that's Lauryn. There's no doubt in my mind that's Lauryn.
We were excited.
Excited, relieved.
But it wasn't the kind of news they hoped for. The information was discouraging. Lauryn was attempting to return merchandise for cash using a fake ID.
And the girl said, "Well, you know, your parents are looking for you. You need to give them a call." And Lauryn's response to that was, "Oh, I already did." The girl said her and her friend watched Lauryn walk out of the store, walk across the parking lot where there's a large bus station, and that's the last that they saw of Lauryn.
Now, with the physical proof in hand that Lauryn is alive, her family must figure out how to move forward. Their decision isn't easy, but they all agree. Lauryn is a drug addict who's likely using again. At this point, no one can force her to come home.
It doesn't matter if your wife or your brothers and sisters or your family, everybody that loves you tells you, "You know what, we don't want you doing this, you're hurting yourself." It doesn't matter. That has to come from within.
Addiction's a hard thing. It's a really hard thing to get rid of. It's a disease, and it just kind of has to click in your head one day that you just don't want to do drugs anymore. So I'm just hoping that she finds her feet like I did.
Yet life is not the same without Lauryn in it. Her creative, spontaneous, infectious personality is greatly missed in Squim. Before going to rehab, Lauryn spent some time reconnecting with her older sister, Whitney, who is a beekeeper and organic farmer. Whitney will always cherish the gift Lauryn made for her.
I'm so grateful for a sister as talented, loving, and intelligent as you. I hope I turn out a little more like you when I grow up. I love her, and I hope she comes home.
In the meantime, Lauryn's family and friends must wait for her to decide how this story ends.
And she's watching this right now. I would just say, "Lauryn, I love you. Your family loves you. And we'd like for you to talk to us. And just let us know you're okay. That's all."
Thank you for watching Investigation Discovery on Demand. You're watching Investigation Discovery on Demand.
Brandy Ellen Wells disappeared on Thursday, August 3rd, 2006. When a person disappears without a trace, often the most critical information is hidden in their actions and words from the days before they vanished. Brandy Wells' last known whereabouts may hold the clues to what happened to her.
The only thing solid is that Brandy's gone.
A passionate young woman, about to get a second chance in life, takes a risk in going to an East Texas nightclub alone.
She told me she was going to the club to meet some friends. So this was her one last chance to go out and have a little fun, kick it up. I told her, I said, "Brandy, please just be very careful."
But when her car is found abandoned on a major interstate,
No sign of a struggle. There was no sign of Brandy.
Did she run out of gas and get picked up by a trucker, or did she meet somebody at the club?
investigators race against the clock to piece together the last known steps of Brandy Wells. Wednesday, August 2nd, 2006. 23-year-old Brandy Wells is driving 20 miles from where she's living in Brownsboro to her hometown, Tyler, Texas. Before starting a new semester at college, this spirited young woman is on a mission to have some fun.
Brandy walked through the apartment door, and it kind of shocked me because I was not expecting her. I smiled and asked her, well, what are you doing here? And she told me, well, I've come to spend the night with you.
It's a welcome surprise for Ellen Wells, who has been sitting alone watching TV after her younger daughter, Georgia, had gone to bed early.
My younger daughter was already in bed. She had not been feeling very good that day, so she went ahead and laid down, and it was really nice to see Brandy walk through that door. Thinking I was going to get to spend some time with her.
Brandy recently moved back to East Texas. She returned to pursue a teaching degree at the community college on a renewed scholarship with the Flag Corps. Just 3 days before, Brandy called her best friend, Janelle Midkiff, to share her excitement.
She couldn't stop talking about getting ready to get back in school because I know that she had missed that, and that's really where she was wanting to be.
Now, Brandy is trying to restart her life. Besides returning to school, she's found a new job.
Brandy had also applied for a new job at Walmart, and she was just waiting for them to get the space available to put her on the schedule.
Brandy shares this news with her godmother, Michelle Cole.
I've always called myself Brandy's other mother. So, I am her godmother, but I am definitely her other mother.
2 years have passed since Brandy was in school. That Wednesday night, while sitting on her mother's couch, Brandy shares her anxiety about rejoining the Flag Corps.
So she was kind of looking forward to meeting the new band members, but a little scared about meeting them, her being so much older than the others. She was a little anxious about that. Hoping that she could do just as good a job on the Flag Corps as she did the previous years.
With a passion for music, Brandy always found her way to center stage.
She loved to sing. It was kind of a dream of hers to be a country singer.
I think she felt that she just had to stand out a little bit more and always put herself into doing things that were grand. It wasn't enough just to be in the band. She had to be in the Flag Corps too.
Brandy's dedication to music and involvement in the Flag Corps in high school earned her a college scholarship in 2001.
First part of her freshman year at college, you would see Brandy outside with that flag in her hand, and she would practice and practice and practice. She wouldn't give up until she caught on.
At age 19, Brandy seemed to have it all until she fell in love and got married. Suddenly, life got more complicated.
She ended up getting married after her second year. And she was supposed to head on to a major college and finish up her teaching degree.
Things are smooth at first, but eventually, Brandy is unable to juggle school, work, and family life. She decides it's best to put academics on hold.
She kind of lost a little bit of her focus at the time. Then later, the marriage didn't work out.
She ended up getting a divorce and then moved down to San Antonio.
I think she went through a tough time, but she made it through and she had strength. And I'm not exactly sure where it came from, but she definitely had strength to keep going.
2 years after her divorce, she's determined to get her life back on track.
She decided that she had let enough time pass. She needed to get back to school.
But before she returns to school, there's one thing Brandy is intent on doing.
She told me she was going to the club to meet some friends. So this was her one last chance to go out and have a little fun, kick it up.
Brandy says she is going dancing with some friends.
And she had asked her younger sister to go with her. And Georgia had decided not to go. Brandy made the decision to go ahead and go.
Before going out that night, Brandy begs to borrow Ellen's car, since hers is low on gas.
I knew the car that she was driving was not in the best of shape, and she asked me, well, can I borrow your car? And I told her, I don't have the gas either. She gave me a kiss on the cheek and walked out the door. That was it.
Before Brandy gets to the club, a close family friend will give her a stern warning.
And I told her, I said, Brandy, please just be very careful. I said, you just have no idea what's out there.
It's 8 p.m., Wednesday, August 2nd, 2006. 23-year-old Brandy Wells has just left her mother's house for a night out on the town. Her mother believes she's going to the Electric Cowboy, a local club in Tyler. But Brandy has a different plan. First, she stops at a local bowling alley to have a drink and visit with the bartender and longtime family friend, Jeanette Green.
She just came through the door, and of course I immediately recognized Brandy. And just smiling and sweet. And she sat down in front of me and she said, Jeanette, Mom said I could have a drink on her tab. I said, okay. She would drink a cherry vodka sour. She was very nonchalant. She just sat back and she propped herself up. And she was drinking her drink and she would twirl her hair a little bit.
Brandy then tells Jeanette her intentions. She's headed to a night spot she's never been to before, Graham Central Station, a popular East Texas club in a town 45 minutes away. For Jeanette, this news is quite unsettling. She tries to dissuade Brandy from going by herself.
And I told her, I said, Brandy, please just be very careful. I said, you just have no idea what's out there.
After 31 years of bartending, Jeanette has learned the hard way just how vulnerable young women are. Her friend, Glenda Moorhead, went missing after leaving a Tyler bar alone over 2 decades ago. For Jeanette, the similarities are uncanny, right down to the bar stool Brandy's sitting on.
That's why when Brandy was sitting in front of me, almost she could have been sitting side by side with Glenda. And I told her the same thing, and she had the same attitude. It made me angry.
But Brandy is not about to change her plans. She has looked forward to this night for weeks, even if she ends up going alone.
She had asked me if I would like to go to this nightclub over in Longview with her. And she wanted to go on a Wednesday night, which was ladies' night. And I told her that I just couldn't go.
With half her drink left on the bar, Brandy decides it's time to go.
She came around and gave me a hug. And she walked through the door, and that was the last time I saw her.
It's the morning after Brandy left Tyler to go dancing at a club in Longview.
Longview, Texas is, I guess you might say, kind of almost a halfway point between Dallas, Texas and Shreveport, Louisiana.
The cities are connected by I-20, a highway dotted with truck stops and oil fields.
Interstate 20 is a 4-lane interstate that runs from Tyler approximately 20 miles to Longview. It's very rural. There's very few exits, and there are very few businesses along that stretch of road.
Sergeant Darren Lair, supervisor for the Criminal Investigations Division of the Longview Police Department, remembers when an abandoned car was first spotted on the highway. It was a 2000 Pontiac Black Grand Prix.
A DPS trooper is driving down the interstate, and it's on I-20. It's parked westbound just offside the road.
The deputy runs the license plate numbers to make sure it's not a stolen vehicle.
There's no police report filed, so there's no reason to know that there's anything wrong with the car. And he puts a tag on it for an abandoned vehicle.
The 2000 black Pontiac Grand Prix sits on the side of the road, waiting to be claimed. Ellen Wells is just waking up to find her daughter Brandy has not come home from the night before.
I woke up the next morning to get ready to go to work, and her clothes were still there. Her makeup bag was still sitting on the coffee table. But she wasn't laying on the couch.
Ellen figures Brandy had too much to drink and has crashed at a friend's house to avoid driving. Hours pass, and still no sign of her daughter.
Her roommate called and asked if we had heard from Brandy or we had seen Brandy. She was supposed to be home that afternoon. I started to get a little worried, so I started calling her cell phone, and it would go straight to voicemail. You know, you don't think she's disappeared. You know, you just think that she's 23 years old. She will come home when she's ready. So at that time, the warning bells still were not going off loudly in my head.
By Friday morning, almost 2 days since Ellen has last spoken to Brandy, panic sets in.
I just remember picking up the phone and Ellen was on the other end and she said, Michelle, Brandy didn't come home. And I said, when? And she said, it's been 2 days. This is our second day.
Ellen and Michelle call Brandy's cell phone repeatedly, praying she'll pick up.
You can hear tears in somebody's voice, and you could hear the tears in mine and Michelle's voice on these phone calls, and there is no way Brandy would have ignored those.
After a grueling 48-hour wait, Brandy's mother, Ellen, files a missing persons report with the Tyler police. It is only then that she learns where Brandy had gone that night.
I was telling the police officer that Brandy went to the club, and I named the club's name, and that's when Georgia stepped in and said, no, Mother, she went to the club in Longview.
This piece of vital information changes everything. Brandy's mother has always assumed Brandy had gone dancing at the local club in Tyler, where she had been many times.
I was pretty mad. I didn't feel that Brandy had lied to me, but I felt that she had kept some important information from me.
With this new lead, Ellen and Michelle split up to look for Brandy.
Michelle, her thought was to get in the car and go to Longview and check the club out. When I pulled into the parking lot, it was a rather large parking lot. I got out, and there was a ravine that ran beside the club. So I walked over there, and I just started searching the ravine. And I really started panicking. My first instinct was to stay by the phone. The phone is my lifeline. That's how I can get a hold of the police, or how Brandy will get a hold of me.
With no news of her daughter, Ellen calls the Tyler police. She's told the Longview police will be taking over. She needs to file yet another report. At first glance, the report that Brandy is missing does not seem alarming to the Longview police.
On its face, the report itself appeared to be a fairly generic report that we get pretty regularly. Daughter came over to Longview, was going to go to a nightclub, hasn't come home yet. Nothing's jumping out as there's a major problem here.
But within the next 24 hours, the status of Brandy's case becomes anything but ordinary. The car that Brandy was driving is drawing more attention.
Another citizen has driven by the car on the interstate, and they call in to say, hey, this car's been out here a couple of days. It's pretty strange. Maybe y'all want to come look at it. Of course, by this time now, there's a missing person report. The license plate is entered as belonging to a missing person.
Finally, investigators are able to link the abandoned vehicle to Brandy Wells.
When I got a call Tuesday, that was one of the worst days, because the first things out of their mouth was, we found Brandy's car.
And after the area where the car is found is searched, a piece of evidence finally emerges.
Inside the car, we found a napkin with a name and a phone number.
After 5 interminable days of filing reports and hoping for the best, Ellen Wells finally gets the news that her 23-year-old daughter's car has been found abandoned.
We're on Interstate 20 westbound, about 500 yards or more from where you exit off the Farm to Market 2087. The car was located just off the shoulder of the road, kind of at an angle pointing off this way.
There was no sign of a struggle. there was no sign of Brandy.
The man in the car was found in relation to the missing persons report. We handled it right then as if we were dealing with any major crime scene, whether it be a homicide or anything else.
The CSI team and cadaver dogs are sent to the scene in search of any clues that could point to foul play. For Brandy's mother, this is a nightmare.
To a mother having a 23-year-old daughter and you finding their car, that's kind of bad news. Because you don't know if there is a body in the trunk. You don't know if there is blood splattered all over the inside of that car.
We're looking for hair lifts, fiber lifts, latent fingerprints, fluid. Is there anything in the car that lets us know what was going on in that car when it was abandoned? We ran dogs on both sides of the interstate and up and down both hills when we did our search. When the dogs picked up no track down by the car itself, we came up here to where there's a frontage road and brought them up along both sides of this and ran them on both sides of the frontage road.
The cadaver dogs did not hit on anything.
Investigators do their best, but one troubling factor overshadows their efforts.
When you have a missing person, those first 24 or 48 hours, that is the time where everything is still fresh. By the time we had the dogs out to track when we found the car, it had already rained. There had been countless people walking up and down the interstate, countless cars going through, taking those scents and going wherever with them.
The Longview Police Department needs all the help they can get. They turn to the FBI for assistance. Special Agent Millslagle is the case advisor.
And that really concerned us that we weren't going to be able to put this together because we were already behind on the timeline. We probably lost about 20 to 24 hours in this timeline in this case. And by losing 24 hours, you're backtracking.
With time not on their side, the forensics team tries to piece together the facts. Details emerge, causing them to fear the worst.
So while we were on the scene, there were some things that led us to believe this is not just a car that broke down.
We had found the car and thought it might have been a carjacking, that she may have been abducted out of her vehicle and the vehicle abandoned shortly thereafter.
The position of the driver's seat in Brandy's car is what really sounds the alarm.
Brandy was right around 5 feet tall, not a very tall girl, and the seat was pushed all the way back.
My husband is 6'2", and he was able to crawl into that car and would have been able to drive it very comfortably. There's no way Brandy could have driven the car. Her legs would not have reached the pedals.
Perhaps most unnerving is where on I-20 the car is discovered.
The car was about 400 or 500 yards west, like it was headed back towards Tyler.
Although pointed in the right direction, Brandy's car is found a few miles before the entrance ramp she should have taken to go back home.
It's very hard to understand how her car might have gotten to that location unless either she was just lost or if somebody put her car there. I'm not sure.
Items Brandy left behind also fuel cause for concern.
Brandy's purse was in the vehicle, along with a cell phone that we believe to be her cell phone. There's not many women in their young 20s that are going to run off without their purse and their cell phone.
The angle at which the car was left, with the driver's door ajar and the keys missing, is equally perplexing.
Did it run out of gas and so we coasted off, and that's why it's kind of pointed off at this angle towards the embankment or the ditch or what have you? Or was somebody in a hurry to get out of it and they just got off the road as fast as they could?
Investigators know Brandy was low on gas. As the car is processed, police find two questionable objects to suggest Brandy's fears of running out of gas may have driven her into the hands of a stranger.
If she was trying to walk to a gas station, she was a very good distance from a gas station.
We did find a gas can in the trunk of the car.
Nobody close to Brandy remembers her ever owning a gas can.
I thought that very unusual because Brandy was not the most prepared person in the world.
Investigators are unable to determine whether or not the gas can had been recently used.
did she run out of gas and get picked up by a trucker, or did she meet somebody at the club that we don't know about and they were following her?
This last theory is more than just a hunch. A second piece of evidence found in Brandy's car leads investigators to question a witness who sheds light on Brandy's last known actions.
Inside the car, we found a napkin with a name and a phone number. We called the phone number. Sure enough, he was at the club and was very willing to come forward and tell us what he knew about his interaction with Brandy that night.
According to police reports, the witness offered to buy Brandy a drink, but she declined. He recalls in detail what she was wearing, a floral blouse with dark pants, and their peculiar conversation.
He had met her at the club, talking a typical nightclub encounter, if you will. The thing he mentioned specifically was that she was, if not directly asking for money, that she was making it clear that she needed money for gas. And they spoke briefly, and then they parted and went their separate ways.
This leaves investigators wondering, might Brandy have asked others for help that night? Police turn their focus to the nightclub, Graham Central Station.
There's video surveillance at the club, both outside and over the counter where you come in. Also, when you come into the club, you have to swipe your driver's license.
Wednesday, after Brandy disappeared, the Longview police contacted us and told us that they were getting the club footage that night and needed us to come down and pick Brandy out among all of the club goers.
Security at the club confirms Brandy swiped her license at 10:44 p.m. on Tuesday, August 2nd. Investigators are now looking for visual evidence in the surveillance footage to see if Brandy arrived or left the club with anyone that night.
We had a general time frame and a general clothing description of what Brandy was wearing. We found a woman coming into the club that appeared to be wearing very similar to what Brandy was wearing. The time frame was very close.
So they went through and they found the time that Brandy's driver's license was swiped. And they looked at the video, and the timestamp on the video showed this one young lady standing on the front porch, speaking with two gentlemen.
This is the break police have been waiting for. Now they can ask the public for help in identifying the men they believe were with Brandy that night.
It is a very tight-knit community. A lot of people know everybody else's business, and everything is played out in the media on the front page of the newspaper every morning.
But first, they need a positive ID from the family to make sure the woman in question is in fact Brandy. Brandy's godmother, sister, and sister-in-law go to the station to have a look at the tapes.
It was a top view, so it was very hard to see. The hair color was the same, the length was the same, the body shape was the same. I went ahead and said that it could be Brandy.
Brandy's story breaks on the evening news that same night.
This security photo shows her with one of the men inside Graham Central Station. Then just minutes later, this photo shows her with another man outside.
But we would like to get a hold of this gentleman to find out if he's got any information, if she met somebody up there inside the club already or what. We just have no idea.
10 days later, Brandy's mother will be shocked when she finds out that the cell phone taken from the car Brandy was driving is not her daughter's.
They showed me the cell phone, and I told them that that was not Brandy's cell phone.
Get more Disappeared online at investigationdiscovery.com. A week after Brandy Wells is last seen at a nightclub in Longview, Texas, police and FBI are doing everything in their power to find the missing woman. Yet they have few answers. Surveillance video showing what appears to be Brandy and two unknown males has been released to the media. While investigators wait for more leads, Brandy's family decides the waiting game is over.
We did the chain email. We contacted every newspaper. I contacted every TV station in Tyler, in Longview, and as far east as Shreveport. We wanted to get the story out. We want it to where every corner of the United States, she is known. People are on the lookout for her.
Brandy's story continues to run on the local news. Brandy's mother shares one detail she finds particularly unsettling.
Some of her personal belongings, such as a cell phone, was found in the vehicle. The police did say that when they found her car, they found her cell phone. They also told me that they had called several people in the address book on the cell phone, and some people knew Brandy and some did not. And I thought that was kind of weird.
The cell phone issue doesn't go away. When Brandy's mother drives to Longview to give investigators a sample of Brandy's DNA, she ends up giving them a piece of information that will take the investigation in a very different direction.
I gave them a DNA sample, and they showed me the cell phone. And I told them that that was not Brandy's cell phone. That did not look like the cell phone that I remember Brandy having.
The cell phone police recovered from the vehicle did not belong to Brandy at all, but to an ex-boyfriend who is now serving in Iraq.
And it was indeed his cell phone and not hers that they had in their possession.
For 10 days, police have been tracking the wrong cell phone calls.
So when we find out that her actual active cell phone is gone, now we start thinking, okay, well, maybe she is just somewhere where she wants to be. So we began the process of getting a subpoena for the phone records.
While police and the FBI are waiting for the subpoenaed records, Ellen and Michelle are busy doing their own police work. They contact Brandy's friend, who shared a cell phone contract with her, and ask to send them a copy of the records. What they find is shocking.
I believe it started a week after Brandy disappeared. That there was call after call after call after call that lasted 1, maybe 2 minutes. To me, it had the tone of a drug user or dealer.
Prior to Brandy's disappearance, there is nothing at all unusual about her calls. Suspicious activity does not start until the 11th of August, 9 days after Brandy's last call.
At this point in the investigation, we clearly have more than just a missing person who doesn't want to be seen. We had already made a call to the FBI, made them aware of what we were looking at, started coordinating our efforts.
Investigators are able to trace the suspicious calls back to 2 individuals who were brought in for questioning.
We interviewed those folks, which led us to a person of interest who allegedly used the telephone that was owned by Brandy Wells.
From what I understand, his story is that he was walking down the road a week after Brandy disappeared, and he heard a beeping and looked over, and lo and behold, there's a cell phone there.
He finds the cell phone in a bad area of town.
He gave at least 2, maybe 3 different stories, all somewhat similar, but none of them exactly the same.
He was offered a FBI-administered polygraph examination, which he declined, and he remains a person of interest today.
I do believe he knows more about the circumstances about which he found the phone and what he's willing to tell us, but other than he was at one point in possession of the phone, I have no way and no reason to say he could have had anything to do with Brandy's disappearance.
With no hard evidence tying this individual directly to Brandy, investigators must wait for a break. Meanwhile, the question looms on everyone's mind. How did her cell phone get from the nightclub to Longview's rough south side of town?
It's one of those places you gotta mean to go there to end up there. It is in a very high crime area. It is an area known for crack cocaine trafficking. It's not an area that you would have ever thought Brandy Wells would have been of her own.
When police analyze where the cell phone is found, in relation to where Brandy's car was abandoned, a plausible theory emerges.
You could drive only about 4 blocks from where the phone was found, and when you got to that road, if you took it, it would become Farm to Market 2087, which would take you right out to exit on I-20 where the car was found.
Without further physical evidence, the trail once again turns cold, 6 weeks after Brandy's disappearance. But her mother isn't giving up. She keeps looking at the surveillance tape. Something's not right.
I expressed my concerns about the outfit that the girl was wearing was not the outfit that Brandy had on.
The more Ellen Wells looks, the more she is certain that the young woman she sees in the footage is not Brandy. The last moments Ellen spent with her daughter on August 2nd, 2006, have left an indelible mark.
She went in and changed her outfit, came out and asked me how I thought she looked, and I told her she looked adorable. If Brandy had not come out and asked me, I probably would not have paid as much attention to it.
Brandy's aunt, Ollie Cormier, has yet to see the tape. She's uncomfortable with her sister's doubt and would like to see for herself. Ollie and her husband get a copy of the tape. Within minutes, her husband spots Brandy, and it's not the same woman police originally thought was her.
She's able to spot the actual footage of Brandy coming into the club and Brandy leaving the club.
While investigators were looking for a girl coming into the club at 10:44, surveillance cameras capture Brandy arriving earlier at 10:35. The timestamp on the cameras was off by 10 minutes.
Brandy walks into the club 10 minutes before this girl by herself. My first thought was, that's Brandy. There she is, and there are the clothes that I insisted to the police that she had on that night.
Investigators can now confirm Brandy's last known actions the night she went missing.
The surveillance tapes indicate that she entered the club, presented her driver's license, and then a few hours later left the club. Both times, entering and leaving, she was alone.
We wasted 6 weeks concentrating on somebody that wasn't even my daughter.
So we're led to believe that she was not with anybody at that time, had a good time at the club, left on her own free will, and then something happened after she left that club.
But what Brandy does before walking out of the shot leaves room for speculation.
As she was leaving, all you can see is her feet. She headed off towards the right, I believe. And then you see her turn and go towards the left.
Did somebody yell at her, holler at her, somebody she'd met in the club, or for that matter, was there just somebody over there that she took a look at? I don't know.
Without cameras in the club's parking lot, or witnesses coming forward claiming to have seen Brandy leaving the club that night, investigators are left with unanswered questions. It's a month and a half later. Brandy's family is getting desperate. They turn to the outside for help.
September 19th of 2006, we got a call from Brandy's family in regards to Brandy. Brandy had disappeared on or about August 2nd of 2006.
Bob Walcott, executive director of the Laura Recovery Center, a nonprofit organization that helps families locate their missing loved ones, agrees to take on Brandy's case.
And by 26th of September then, we were on our way up to Longview and got a search going. The first search that we did, we had two locations. We had the area right near the nightclub itself, which was a large parking lot, then a wooded area right near there that was going to be searched.
They brought them in droves and also got volunteers locally. Four-wheelers, horses, cadaver dogs.
We were fortunate in the sense that we had a starting point and an ending point where we knew the car.
The strategy is to eliminate the areas in between, with the hope that nothing will be found.
These areas would make sense if you were going to have abducted and killed somebody and possibly buried them.
This road looks like it joins up with an apartment complex beyond here. And then from that apartment complex and this road, we've got another wooded area a little farther back. All of this is right behind the nightclub where Brandy was when she disappeared.
I was thinking at the time of that search that we could just find her. Find something of her. Pretty much found absolutely nothing. Didn't find a blonde hair anywhere, so to speak. So I knew we're gonna have to try it again.
Ellen Wells will learn troubling news when police discover the body of a young woman, apparently burned.
I could see Brandy's face and that skull.
It's been 6 long weeks. Police are finally able to piece together a timeline of the events leading up to the disappearance of Brandy Wells. A promising lead has turned cold when investigators are unable to connect an individual who claimed to have found Brandy's phone to her actual disappearance. Then, the body of an unidentified young woman is found only 7 miles from where Brandy's car was abandoned.
During the course of this investigation, there was a body discovered at an oil well site just outside of Kilgore, Texas.
It's an area recognized for its oil fields, only 11 miles from Longview.
The lady was found burning.
Her face was burned beyond recognition, but traces of her clothing remained. Blue jeans and a long-sleeved sweater.
Of course, Brandy was not wearing them at the time, but it was a few months after Brandy disappeared.
Once they sent it to autopsy and they were able to start narrowing down the characteristics of the body, it comes back that it's a white female, and it was close enough that we thought there was a distinct possibility that could have been Brandy.
The woman's skull is given to a forensic artist to be reconstructed.
The first time I saw it, my heart really stopped. It looked wax and fake, but just looking in that picture, I could see Brandy's face in that skull.
Just knowing how this woman's body was desecrated is difficult for Brandy's family and friends.
I was extremely upset because the body was found burning. It was still on fire when they found it. All kinds of horrible things were going through my mind.
Seeking answers, Ellen Wells hands over Brandy's dental records to the authorities. And they are not a match. She now has definitive proof that the burned body is not her daughter.
To this day, she still has not been identified. How can a body lay around for 2.5 years and nobody want to claim her? You also think that, my God, how could somebody actually set fire to a human being? Could they have done this to her too?
As the holidays draw near, family and close friends are determined to bring Brandy home.
In December of 2006, we came down and did a second search.
The Laura Recovery Center agrees to come back to Longview to resume searching the area where they had left off back in September.
I wanted to do it around a time of year that held significance. Not only was it Thanksgiving, it was her birthday.
They knew at that point they would be looking for a body. Nobody really wants to say that.
Taking time off work, I'm taking my vacation around Christmas to search a wooded area for my best friend. It was very surreal.
Janelle Midkiff has been in a state of disbelief since she heard the news of Brandy's disappearance. Searching for her best friend brings back bittersweet memories.
Brandy and I were one. We were sisters, inseparable.
When the girls were teenagers, they spent 7 days a week together at Bethel Baptist Church and attended church camps in the summer. As Janelle looks to the cold ground for remains of her friend, that seems like a lifetime ago. Reality hits home when she stumbles upon a bag filled with bones.
My first initial thought when I saw this bag was, I hope this isn't Brandy. But at the same time, if it was, we can bring her home. We come to the conclusion that it was an animal in the bag and not human remains.
As the second ground search nears an end, once again, nothing notable has been found that could be tied to Brandy.
It's almost a needle in a stack of needles because there's so much area without a specific place and an idea of exactly where you need to concentrate. You're just doing what you can and hoping to get lucky.
Hope is all that remains for Brandy's mother, who is determined to keep the search for her daughter alive.
Brandy's mother has just lived it for the last 2 years. Every day, she's done everything she can to find her daughter.
I'll be damned if I'm going to stop looking for her until I can hopefully find her.
But with all the will in the world, no one is able to say what happened when Brandy stepped off the front porch of Graham Central Station that night in Longview. The atypical nature of this case has stumped investigators.
Usually there's something about the missing person's lifestyle that lends them to that missing status. And that's one of the troubling things about this case, is that it doesn't fit with her.
She was not running from anything. She was not hiding from anything. She would not have disappeared on her own.
At this point, the case is still considered active, but there are no new leads to speak of. The importance of keeping a spotlight on Brandy's story is critical for her family.
I drive around with Brandy's missing posters in my car. And one on the front windshield and one on the back windshield. Because what if someone driving down the road beside me is the only person that saw Brandy, that doesn't watch the news? That could be the one person that could tell us something.
Someone out there saw Brandy after she left the club, and that person needs to come forward, let us know so we can put an end to the investigation and put some answers in the family of Brandy Wells as to what happened that night in Longview.
All you can do is sit there and pray to God that one day somebody will come forward with what they know and give us the road to go down. I don't have any suspects. I don't have any clues. I don't have any solid of anything. The only thing solid is that Brandy's gone.
For Ellen Wells, this surveillance video is all she has to remember her daughter's last known steps on that fateful summer night.
It's exactly what she looked like the last time I have seen her face. And, it's probably silly and stupid, but anytime I want to see her in action, instead of just looking at a still picture, I'll have a moving picture of her. See her still alive.
Thank you for watching Investigation Discovery on Demand.